Friday, April 22nd. It's the Cardboard Consultants here. Aram Layton joined by T Wright. And T, we have a really fun one today because our top 100 prospect list dropped. We have a lot of product either out or on the horizon, and we've got a lot to break down. So T, you crunched all the numbers. I'm excited for what you have to bring to us in terms of how our top 100 list kind of translates into the hobby, and then a lot of other things that have stood out to us across the last few weeks. So T, you're going to lead the way here. Where are we starting?
Well, it's good to be back first. It's been a couple of weeks since we've recorded, so it's nice to kind of get back in it and dig into cards and kind of some things that are going on. Now we have a massive amount to talk through, as like you said, the top 100 dropped. Something that I take immediately and start dissecting and looking at and trying to find biggest risers, biggest fallers. So I wanted to focus on the 5 biggest risers in the rankings for this, I guess, second edition now of the top 100 over at Just Baseball. So I'm going to just present them to you. I'd love to hear, some of these are going to be names that the people who are watching the show know about, they've heard about, they're starting to be introduced to, but yet could use a little bit more filling out in terms of the level of talent, maybe the ceiling, maybe the floor. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to hear just your 30-second or minute long take on each of these 5 guys. I'm going to do the 5 biggest risers. Then we'll talk about auto prices, and then we'll talk a little bit about like players around them in the rankings that are same position.
I fair comps, just
fair comps to say like, hey, maybe I would prefer to have the guy that's actually 5 spots behind him, because his auto price is significantly less or something like that. So
absolutely
love to hear your thoughts on. I know you put a ton of work into this list. This is your baby, and just really excited to hear a little bit more of kind of your takes on these individual guys. So I'm going to start with a name that pretty much I would imagine that all collectors who are active in this space have definitely heard of. They've definitely already seen him play this year at the major league level. And that's going to be our guy, your guy specifically, Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena rose from unranked, not on the last list, and now he's ranked 22nd on the top 100. So this is the biggest riser by far, moving up 78 spots, virtually unranked, to now 22nd overall. Give us a little bit about Jeremy and his game, and then we can talk again later about his auto prices and people around him.
It's funny too. If we went back, because I know you, Kendall, and I, we were talking Jeremy Pena during the lockout. We were saying this guy's going to be the shortstop for the Astros, and at that time, and I'm kicking myself because I did pick up my Jeremy Pena's. I have this auto here out of 250, which I'm really excited about. But there's also a level of me where it's like I wish I put more into it. Because his cards, when we gave that out, were probably like what, $50-$60 for his Bowman Chrome Auto base.
Yeah, back then they were right around that $60 to $80 range.
Now they're going for what, $250?
The average price is right around $225-ish. Yeah.
So I mean, if somebody bought those up back then, I mean, you could be 3x, 4xing. But here's the thing: you talk about Pena being the biggest climber. I still don't even hate the buy. It's expensive. But I love everything I see from this kid. I mean, we had him at 22 before the season started. I know the list just got published, which you can go follow along at justbaseball.com right now. But he was set to be 22 before, ranked around the 25 to 22 range before the season even started. And that's because the power is legit. No one really knew that he had this much power. He added about 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. He didn't lose any athleticism there, though. So he's still an elite defender at shortstop. He's still an above average runner. But where I'm most impressed is the swing decisions, right? Like people were worried, okay, no 2020 season. He was drafted in 2019. Limited experience.
Always really low.
Yeah. Limited experience. How much is he going to be able to really get acclimated to the big league level? He's been great. He's been great. And I think he's only going to get better. The bat to ball is way better than I thought. And this is a potential, 5-tool player that is playing for a perennial contender, probably still the team to beat or one of in the AL. And now you can get their starting shortstop, who's a rookie, who might win Rookie of the Year, for still, I think, cheaper than it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I think, again, I mean, if you don't, is it bad to ask you how much you paid for the purple?
No, it was about 200 and change.
Yeah. 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 I would imagine that card is probably double that at least, if not more, by now. But yeah, the biggest jump we've seen is in the kind of the raw autos, moving from 60, 70, $80 to, if you find one under 200, buy it.
Yeah.
Like, just don't hesitate to
Don't
pull the
think
trigger.
about it.
I mean, who's in his way for rookie of the year right now?
I said it from the jump. Like, Bobby Witt Jr., I thought was going to struggle. He's going to be fine. He's just slow out of the gate. Julio Rodriguez, slow out of the gate. Those guys are not ahead of him. There's really nobody. Stephen Kwan had the hot start, but to me, it's Jeremy Pena's award to lose in the AL. NL, you got to deal with Seiya Suzuki, which was a bit unfair given that he's been playing at a high level for a little bit. I don't really see how anyone's going to take down Jeremy Pena unless he really hits a wall, but he's always giving you value defensively that I think he's going to be the favorite for that award. And once that happens, his cards are going to skyrocket.
He looks so good defensively. Like, he looks so smooth at that position. So, and then that's not even getting into what really matters card wise. And that's his ability to hit the ball. And so I'm super impressed with Jeremy. What's the rules regarding the prospect list? Like, will Jeremy slide off of it in the next round? Like, how many?
Yeah. So by the update, he'll have graduated,
Okay.
which is crazy because we generally graduate after 150 plate appearances. I always thought that the graduation standards or thresholds were always a little bit too loose. You have guys like Clark Schmidt that are still getting ranked as a prospect. He's been throwing great, by the way, but like, that guy's been on the Yankees for 3 years now. I know it's up and down and whatever, but at a certain level, it's just they're not prospects anymore. So we are pretty rigid with that, and I like it because it gives us an opportunity to rank more guys. So he'll be graduated, but at that point, he probably will have solidified himself as one of the more exciting up and coming shortstops in the game. And I think when you look at the numbers, there's really not. You look at the top prospects. None of them are really doing what Jeremy Pena is doing. And it's not like Jeremy Pena isn't playing in a high pressure situation right now. Like, he's playing for, again, one of the more competitive teams in baseball, and he's producing a 181 WRC plus. He's already produced one win, like if you look at FWAR. But if you like the counting stats, how does 308 sound as a batting average? How does 590 sound as a slugging percentage? And I think there's more power for him to tap into. This guy has it all going for him. And the best part about it is the intangibles. I hear nothing but great things about the makeup. And if you're buying stock in a player, I think you want to buy stock in a guy who has a good work ethic, carries himself well, and is well liked, and just coaches love to coach him. So I'm all in on Jeremy Pena, and I'm going to be until that card kind of reaches the J-Rod Bobby Witt range, which it's still far off from.
Yeah, I agree. But like we said, both have said, solid buy, scoop him up. Average auto price right now is around the 230 mark, only because one went for 350 a couple days ago, according to 130point.com, which is a great resource. If you're into card collecting, they give you the prices that eBay won't show you when they list best offers, and they're crossed out. So 130point.com is great. But okay, moving on, we'll come back to Jeremy. We'll talk a little bit about the players around him and from an investment perspective. But second biggest riser, Ellie De La Cruz, not ranked, coming out in the Bowman first edition product that was just released, and then will naturally be in the Bowman flagship product set to debut in May. Ellie De La Cruz comes in at 52nd, moving up 48 spots, essentially from 100 to 52. Tell me a little bit about Ellie De La Cruz, another shortstop, a guy that you like.
Yeah, I mean, so De La Cruz is probably the highest upside guy that you're going to find on this list, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, he has all of the tools you can imagine. He's a plus runner. He has plus raw power. He's a switch hitter. Crazy arm at short. The only question with him is just, how much is he going to hit? And that's a big question. But I've liked what we've seen so far. I think he's definitely going to have those swing and miss concerns, but in the early going, he has shown the power. He is shown to have flashes of this guy that can be a more complete hitter. And I think as he gets more acclimated to high A and continues to get more at bats under his belt, he's going to settle in. But look, there's a wide range of outcomes with someone like Ellie De La Cruz. I would never say, go in heavy. But if you're feeling lucky or you want to really roll the dice on someone that could legitimately explode value wise, this is the guy to do it with, right? This is the risk to take because if he puts it all together, we're talking superstar. And it's not an exaggeration at all to say that.
Yeah. And so right now you can't get an auto of Ellie De La Cruz because only thing you have access to are his first edition cards. His first edition foil cards go for about $30, which is a little on the high side actually. But still, we're kind of expecting with the new release of 2022 Bowman that Ellie will have an autograph in there. In a little bit, we'll talk about some of the players that are around him and kind of where we expect that auto price to land. The third biggest riser was Luis Matos. He moved all the way from 89th to 44th. So moving up 45 spots, center fielder in the Giant system. Tell me a little bit about Mr. Matos.
So Matos, he's part of what is, I think, one of the most loaded minor league teams we've ever seen. The Eugene Emeralds, along with Matos is Marco Luciano, Kyle Harrison, even Casey Schmidt is someone I really like at third. Jairo Pomares, another top 100 outfielder on that ball club. And they've got a few other guys, Nick Swinney as well. Luis Matos is off to a horrible start this year. Like really bad. He's hitting 156 through his first 8 games. And I don't know if the card prices have dipped a little bit because he's someone that was extremely expensive going into the year. But he's not someone I'm worried about. He's going to be just fine. He's extremely young. He doesn't have that many ABs under his belt, but has a wonderful ability to hit the baseball. Even though it wouldn't be reflected in his numbers, his bat to ball skills are phenomenal. It's more the approach. He has plus raw power potential. He's an above average to plus runner. He does a little bit of everything. So you're looking at a do it all kind of center fielder with pretty exciting power. For whatever reason, he's struggling this year out of the gate. Again, it's just 8 games. But the only thing with him is he's one of those guys, and he's probably one of the longest write-ups. If you go to the top 100, it's probably one of the longest write-ups because I was so fascinated by him. Super aggressive approach because he's a young hitter who feels like he can hit everything, which is great, right? Like high-end hit tool guys feel like they can hit everything. And so just because you can get to that pitch 2-0 doesn't mean you should. Right, rolling over to third base is worse than taking a borderline strike 2-0 and having a 2-1 count, which is still a hitter's advantage. Like I've seen Matos squander so many of those. The Giants are one of the most analytically driven and just well-run organizations. I can promise you that information will be given to Matos, relayed to Matos, and he will continue to develop. I'm not worried about his slow start, and I think he is as exciting and high upside of an option as you're going to find still. But the price kind of reflects that, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's got right now is okay. Let's just give you like the last 5 auto prices: 187, 200, 182, 182, 150, right around that $180 mark for a Matos, and that's raw first auto right now. So pretty pricey, I would say, but not crazy, but definitely not the introductory kind of I'm just getting into card collecting. Let me go throw $175 at a guy that I might not have heard of yet.
Yeah. So what do you think of the price there, given where we have him ranked, just like relative to where he's ranked?
Yeah. So right above him, and I know he's not a center fielder, but right above him around 38 is Zach Veen, which actually he dropped a little bit. And Veen's kind of been a card collector's darling for a little while. Everyone fell in love with him, and you'll see a lot of his stuff being bought and sold. But Veen is right around 200-ish, 210, 220 for a raw auto of his first. So you're talking only 6 spots above him.
And his card price has dropped?
No, not really. I was just saying he dropped in terms of your rankings.
Yeah, and not really for any specific reason.
Yeah.
Honestly, Veen is really good and really exciting, and I think that price is pretty fair. The only reason Veen slid is he kind of maintained the status quo, and some other guys just really impressed. And so like if you're a Veen investor, I wouldn't be concerned. If you like to collect Veen, I wouldn't be concerned. I think he has superstar potential. I thought he had a good first year too. There's just some guys that really separated themselves. For example, Robert Hassel, that just kind of leapfrogged him a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll get back into another guy that's right around Matos's ranking that we kind of have an affinity for, but I'll get back to him in just a second. So fourth biggest riser was Diego Cartaya. He rose from not being on the list at all to being ranked 63rd overall. So he rose 37 spots, technically a catcher. Talk to me a little bit about him. I can't wait till we get to talk around about the context of who he's near. But auto price around 150 for his first raw auto. But tell us a little bit about Diego.
Yeah, so I like Diego Cartaya as a prospect, right? He's a 20-year-old catcher with all of the leadership qualities that evaluators look for. The Dodgers love the way he commands the game behind the dish, but card collectors don't care about that, right? But the reason why we're seeing Diego Cartaya's card go for so much is he's a highly regarded prospect and an expensive international free agent who has put up good results early on, and he plays for the Dodgers, right? So when you combine all of that, that's why his card's going for a lot. Personally, I'm not touching it at that price because he's a 20-year-old catcher who has not played above low A. And I think the defense is going to progress. The raw power is legit. I mean, we saw 10 home runs in 31 games last year, but he also has an extremely pull-happy approach. There's some holes in his swing that he has to acclimate and get used to and make those adjustments. But I just never like to invest in catchers much just because offense is so hard to find there. And if it is a guy that is offensive like Diego Cartaya that can put up numbers, I want to see them in AA performing or at least high A performing. And he's just too far off from me right now, given the price. If he was cheap, I'd say, oh yeah, take a flyer. His upside's immense. They're comparing him to Salvador Perez, but he's just so far off, and there's so much ground and progress that needs to be made. There's just $150 or whatever, $130 that could be spent better in a lot of other places.
Yeah, good. Okay, finally, the last top 5 riser is Gabriel Arias, a guy that we've talked a lot about off the show. He too was not ranked, and he moved up to 65th overall, so moving up 35 spots. Another shortstop in the Indian system. Tell us a little bit about Arias.
So Arias came over in that Clevenger deal, and I'm a huge fan of his. I really like the way he approaches the game. I like all of his qualities. He just got the call up, so we'll see how he does. But like
that's a little bit ahead of schedule, right?
Sorry?
I mean, I said that's a little ahead of schedule. I remember you saying maybe middle of the year, but
yeah, I was not expecting him to get called up this early. I'm happy to see it though, because look, I do have the questions of how much he's going to hit at the big league level in terms of bat to ball, and that's a question that a lot of people have. But the power is there. He's a plus defender. He's a good runner. And he's going to get a lot of shots. But I do believe in the hit tool enough. He's only 22 years old and like just turned 22 a month ago. Put up numbers in AAA, and I feel like just got overlooked for whatever reason. 115 games in AAA last year as a 21-year-old, so well younger than the level relative. 284, 350, 454 slash line with 13 home runs. My thing with him too is he has more power in the tank. I think there's 20 plus home run power in the tank. He's got tools across the board. He's not going to be a superstar, but if he's a shortstop that's putting up pretty decent numbers for what his price is, I like it. I'm not really hunting him, so to speak, but I pulled his green auto at a 99, and I'm holding that. I wasn't like, oh, let's sell this right away. So he's a good hold for me right now. And if you find a good deal here and there, definitely pick it up because you're getting a shortstop who has great complementary tools and can hit 20 plus home runs, maybe even 30 on a good year.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then now we'll get into kind of, and Arias is cheap. I mean, he's a $40.
Yeah, see, that's a no-brainer for me.
Real quick though, before we kind of circle back into prices and comps, the other top, let's say rounding out the top 10 of the risers, Stephen Kwan moved from unranked to 66. We've seen him do insane stuff already. O'Neal Cruz moved up about 27 spots to number 11 overall. So he's the highest ranked guy on this list. Colton Cowser moved up 25 spots. MJ Melendez up 24, and Miguel Vargas up another 24. So those are kind of the top 10 risers. In the newest top 100 list, which is a must read if you're into prospecting, get over there, dissect it. I've already have it marked up and am going to be using it religiously. So, all right. So going back to auto prices, comps, players that are on the list around them playing similar positions. I'll start with Arias and then we'll kind of go back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, Arias's price is right around $40. You'll see 50, 50, 30, 40, somewhere right around in there. But the player that's right above him is Rocchio, and the player that's close behind him is Peguero. Now, honestly, what's kind of interesting is Rocchio's prices and Peguero's prices in terms of their raw first chrome autos are about the same. It's about $40 for Rocchio and about $45 for Peguero. You got three of those guys. Which one are you buying into?
Oof, what a question. What a question that is. So I'll start with Rocchio because I think he's the safest bet of all of them.
Okay.
He has everything you look for in a shortstop. And again, another guy that checks the boxes with the intangibles. The Guardians love what he brings to the table and the way he approaches the game. I would say Peguero has the most upside, though. He's 21. He's a 6'2", 200-pound shortstop plus speed. He's hit well, but continues to hit the ball harder and harder each time I check in. Better exit velos. The strikeout rate continues to dwindle. I'm leaning. That is a really good one. I would lean Peguero upside wise. Like if I'm feeling a little bit risky, like that's what I would lean towards. But if you want to be safe and pick up a guy that's cheap that you feel pretty confident will continue to appreciate, Rocchio's probably that option. Switch hitter, good bat to ball, developing power. But the question with Rocchio is I don't know how much that power is going to develop. There's hope that it's going to develop, but I don't know how much it's going to develop. Peguero, I'm seeing it every time I check in. I see the power. It kind of just emerging more and more. And he already has 2 home runs through his first 8 games. I'm seeing that power become more and more a part of his game. Rocchio's doing everything else. I am nervous. Just if I'm putting money into him, how much upside is there? Because if he's not hitting 20 plus home runs, I don't know how interested people are going to be in collecting his cards.
Okay, good stuff. Because those are cards I see. I operate primarily in the Twitter sphere, which is just a never-ending card market, and I'm seeing all those guys kind of pop up a lot. So that's good. Cartaya, 4th biggest riser. Again, we said that his auto price right now is around 150. You'll see anywhere from 100 to 180 in between, about $150 on average. Now, he's at 63. The player above him is Soderstrom, and he's at 40. So I'm not really thinking there's a comparison all too much there in prices. I haven't checked Soderstrom's prices, but I'm pretty positive they're far above the 150 mark. I'll actually pull it up while you're talking about this next question. The guy right below him, though, possibly the greatest catching prospect of all time, is Shaylang Elirse. And he's at 69th overall. And I saw an auto of his, I think it was 2 days ago, go for $30 on eBay. So you're talking $150 for Cartaya, $30 for Shay. Do you want 5 Shays or 1 Cartaya?
5 Shays, and I'm not thinking twice about it. And I'm not just saying that because he's a Baylor boy, and I know you love Shaylang Elirse. But the reason why is this. Okay, first of all, Shay's a guaranteed big league catcher, like right now. he's a guaranteed big league catcher, because if all goes crappy offensively, he is so good defensively.
Yeah.
Plus arm, does everything so well that he's a guaranteed big leaguer. Obviously, no one is collecting backup catcher cards, but I mean, I just think he's going to get a lot of opportunity. Here's my thing with Langeliers, and I'm really excited about this side of things, is the power is there. He has legitimate plus, maybe even borderline plus raw power. Yeah. We saw him put up 113 in terms of exit velos several occasions last year. That's pretty darn close to elite, especially for a catcher. The hit tool continues to get better and better. His plate discipline is improved. Even if he's inconsistent bat to ball wise, which I have been impressed with his improved plate discipline, he's going to hit 20 plus home runs. He's got too much pop that way, and he's going to play good defense. I think worst case scenario, you're looking at a Mike Zunino, but I think he has way more offensive ability in terms of consistency. And if he is consistent offensively, I mean, you're looking at one of the better catchers in the game. Yeah. And the power, I think, is really what's going to set him apart. And again, he continues to get better and better with the bat overall. Yep. It's a no-brainer at that price. And he's knocking on the door of the big leagues right now. Like he is really just a step away, and he's crushing the ball in AAA.
I wonder how much, he's off to a great start. I really wonder if there was movement, and I should have checked this beforehand, but when he was traded to the A's, if somehow that kind of hurt his overall card value. I wasn't checking it beforehand.
It's funny to me because I'd almost look at that backwards, even though it could based on where you're at. I really did think he was, the next guy up in Atlanta. But think about what that means contextually to his value, right? Like I'm not a huge Christian Pache guy. I think he still has value, but he was not the centerpiece of that deal. And for Matt Olson, in my opinion, Shaylang Elirse was the centerpiece of that deal. He was the most valuable guy. He hit 22 home runs as a plus defensive catcher in AA last year. That's just extremely valuable. And you look now at this year in AAA, he's hitting 308 with a 413 on base. It's early, but sub 20% K rate. He's walking at a higher clip than he's walked in any previous season. That's the stuff you like to see. I'm buying those cards. I will personally be buying some Shaylang Elirse because look, you're getting a guy with big time upside as a catcher. He's still 24. And one other note I want to make on Langeliers. He broke his hamate bone in college. Yep. That saps your power so much as a hitter and takes a long time to come back from. So the first season, he left a bit to be desired offensively. Second season, because of the 2020 layoff, he hits the 22 home runs. Now he's going to try to find that balance of consistency with the home run power that's come back. This could be an explosion for him and force his way up to the big leagues, especially if Oakland trades Sean Murphy.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I said something that was incorrect. I'm gonna go back and correct it. I thought Soderstrom would be above Cartaya in card prices. I was wrong. He's $75 on average.
Stop.
Okay, so Cartaya's at 150, Soderstrom's at 75. Now you've got three totally different price points. You've got Shea, which is at the bottom of the barrel, $30. It's a no-brainer. Go buy. You have Soderstrom, which is creeping up to 75, 80 range. And then you have Cartaya, which is double that. So now who do you pick? You've got Shea at 30, Soderstrom at 75, Cartaya at 150. Soderstrom is your 40th ranked prospect and well above the other two. So what are you doing there?
Here's my thing with Soderstrom is his bat is what ranks him so high. He's got some big questions defensively. Yeah. What boosted him is I really liked what I saw in the early going with his receiving. He's improved a lot there. He's improved a lot with his blocking. And I've heard really good things about how hard he was working to improve the defensive side of things. Yeah. Tyler Soderstrom offensively has more upside than I think almost any catching prospect you're going to find. He's 6'2", 200, ton of projection in his frame, and already is shown to have a pretty good feel to hit. Off to a slow start in high A, high school guy, making the jump after a season in low A, but he was spectacular last year. I think with Soderstrom's fallback of still being an impact bat at first base or corner outfield, I'd probably go Soderstrom above everybody else. Just because, like I said, with Cartaya, they're going to keep him behind the dish. Like that's the goal. And with Langeliers, I love the offensive upside, but he's always going to be somewhat limited as a catcher. Soderstrom's offense, he's going to hit enough to where he could play first base and be an impact first baseman. I'm happy with Soderstrom or Shea. It would just kind of depend on what the price point is. But at 20 years old, I know I said I don't like to get catchers that are far off, but I believe in the hit tool that much with Soderstrom, and the fallback of being able to play other positions kind of puts him over the top for me.
Yeah, cool. All right, moving back up to Matos, we saw his prices at 180. Some other outfielders you have around them are Veen and Valera, but those guys are right fielders, are not really center fielders. The next kind of closest center fielder we had was Colton Cowser, actually, and he's right there. Cowser's at 47th, Matos at 44th. Matos comes in at 180. Cowser, you're looking at around 110 to 120 for a raw auto right now. Who you taking long term?
So, there's a scenario where Matos explodes and I'm kicking myself because, I could have had the next superstar for whatever. But I think the price is already, kind of high. I think Colton Cowser is as safe as it gets. And once you get into that price threshold, I don't want that much risk anymore, right? Like my risk tolerance starts to dissipate once I get in, above the 130, 140, 150 range for a raw auto. I want a guy that I feel really confident in. Colton Cowser, I have a 70 future value on his hit tool. Like, I think that's where he's going to get in terms of how good of a hitter he is. He doesn't swing and miss. He catches up to velo. He stays back on breaking stuff. He needs to develop the power, but I think he's going to. He's got a huge frame. He's a good athlete. He's going to tap into more pop. The hit tool is there. He's as safe as it gets. And at that price, I'm all in. And I think he's going to have a fast track to the big leagues too.
Nice. All right. So moving up, Ellie De La Cruz. Again, he doesn't have an auto, so it's really tough to kind of determine this next one. But the closest guy to him that does is Oswald Peraza, and he comes in around 125-ish. My thinking is that if Ellie comes out with an auto in this 2022 Bowman product that's going to drop in a couple of weeks, I would imagine that the initial price points are going to be higher than 125-ish, just because of what I've seen with these draft products and first edition products. And I mean, as soon as the stuff hits the market, that's when kind of things go a little nutty at first, and then they settle back down. Guys like Khalil Watson, if he comes out, like, I think Watson's right there at 48. He's only 4 spots ahead of De La Cruz, and I can't imagine what his auto prices are going to be because he's already generating a ton of hype.
Yeah, he's got 4 home runs in 10 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, Watson could be 250 for a first auto. Ellie De La Cruz, maybe around the 100-ish, maybe not, maybe a little bit more, 150-ish. If you have the opportunity to buy Ellie at 100, Peraza at 125, or Watson at 200, well, who are you taking?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, sure. So Ellie De La Cruz, say he comes out at about $100 when Bowman drops in a couple weeks. Peraza at like 125-ish is where he's currently going for. He actually has the product that you can buy. And then say Watson comes out at 200. Are you thinking Ellie De La Cruz is worth half as much as Watson, even though you've got them very close to each other in the rankings, 48, 52nd, and then Peraza at 55th?
I'm going De La Cruz there. I think it's a great question. And look, Watson has crazy upside, but if I'm getting De La Cruz at almost half the price, Khalil Watson's still high risk, right? Like, this is a guy that still has a ton of swing and miss. He fell in the draft for some other concerns. I saw him on the backfields. He is wonderfully talented. And if I pull a Watson, I'm not like I always said, if I pull Jason Dominguez, I'm selling. If I pull Watson, I'm holding it, even though I'm aware of the risk. But if I'm targeting someone to buy, De La Cruz, to me, is just as risky as Watson. I think they're both up there in the extreme risk category. And I just love the dynamic skills that De La Cruz brings, especially as a switch hitter. And he's already in high A. They're the same age, or maybe I think Ellie De La Cruz is about a year older, but he's in high A already, getting acclimated. And I would probably go De La Cruz because I know the hype train's going to get going on him too. Once they see the speed, the switch hitting, the frame, that's the buy for me.
Nice. All right. And so now with Pena, we're getting into a price point and comps around players that are around him where you're getting to the kind of it's a lot for a raw auto. So Pena again, right around that 230 mark. I think the players that I pulled that are around him in the rankings, Noelvi Marte, which is right above him at 21st overall. Lawler, which is right close by him, 29th, so a few spots behind, and Marcelo Mayer, who's right there at 30th. So Marte, auto price, 325-ish. Lawler, auto price around 300, and Meyer, the price is around 400. So you've got Pena at 230, Marte at 325, Lawler at 300, and Meyer at 400. All these guys right around each other in the rankings, top 30 guys. Who are you buying?
I mean, you're hoping that Marcelo Mayer and Jordan Lawler look like Jeremy Pena in 3 years.
Yep.
You're hoping. And also you're hoping that the Red Sox are as competitive as the Astros, which is crazy to say. And you're damn well hoping that the D-backs are as competitive as the Astros, and probably dreaming. Jeremy Pena is doing what you're hoping those other guys are going to do, has the skill set, and still has the upside, right? You could say, oh, but these guys were top picks and have this limitless ceiling.
Yeah,
I think Jeremy Pena has a darn close to limitless ceiling. Like, you look at what Jose Altuve said. Altuve said this guy's going to be a superstar, and that was after we were peddling the Pena stuff. This isn't confirmation bias or anything like that. At the price point, he's half, right? Like, what is Lawler going for?
Around 300.
Okay, so you're still getting about like a 20 to 30% discount.
Yep. Yeah.
No brainer for me to go with Pena there.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you
go,
guys.
Wait till the postseason, right? Look at what Wander Franco did and how that ignited a lot. I mean, he already had the hype, but then what he did in the postseason, even though the Rays got bounced, it was just this almost solidifying of this guy's here. Pena's going to do the same thing.
All right, those are 5 of the biggest risers in the top 100. Go check it out, justbaseball.com. Aram has done a fantastic job putting this list together for us. And not only is it a great list, but there's extensive write-ups on each of these guys. So there's a ton of content to digest, and you'll get to hear a little bit of his written thoughts and similar to what you just heard him verbalize. So well worth your time reading through that, especially if you're into prospecting. So the next thing we want to talk about a little bit, I think, was some of the newer products that's about to come out. So again, a lot of you are following the Bowman 2022 product, which was set to come out the 27th. If you don't know, that's been pushed back to May 4th. So kind of start thinking about who you're targeting in breaks. If you're on Twitter, you can find guys that have already put up lists and prices. I would recommend going and looking at case break prices and trying to kind of figure out who you're wanting to target. So it's that time of the year. It's about to happen. So a couple other ones I think coming up, in the biggest other one from in the card world is the Topps Chrome product that's set to drop in July. It seems forever away. But that product has the chance to be littered with some of these bigger rookies. And so there's already so much hype around the product that the prices are going through the roof. So be on the lookout for that. I think Topps Tribute comes out in May, Topps Definitive, Topps Gypsy Queen, some of the products that you guys may or may not want to be buying into. Nothing spectacular and all that, but still a lot of good stuff to kind of, there's still going to be good products to chase in that, or good cards to chase in that. So but those would be the ones that I would target. Then of course anything from 2020, 2019, 2021 draft first edition products you can go find over on our Loupe, one of our newest partners. So that's a great way to get into collecting if you haven't already. Download that app. Aram can tell you a little bit more probably about that than I can. So but we're excited about bringing them on.
Yeah, so that was one thing I was going to get into, because that was a question. I know we don't have the numbers in front of us, and it kind of depends on seller, because that's something I like to do with the Loupe app is usually if I'm on eBay at this point, right? Like you're going to struggle to find breaks for 2020 draft. Like there's some special occasions where someone still goes back and does a 2020 draft break, but most of the time now when you're buying spots in online breaks, it's more modern product. What's cool about Loupe is you have a litany of sellers, and the more you go into the app, the more you'll start to realize, okay, this seller tends to have more of the older stuff, and this seller is always on it with the new product. And Loupe does a good job of helping their sellers get the latest product as well. But for me, I still like to hunt the old. And like you've seen me buy 2019 boxes, but sometimes I don't want to pay $750. So I'll go on Loupe and I'll buy, maybe a pack of 2020 draft and just see how it goes. And that's the cool part is you can go in there and buy a pack of 2020 draft. And so one name I was surprised you didn't mention was Robert Hassel, because I thought he was a big riser. So he must have just missed the threshold of biggest risers. Robert Hassel is up to 24, I believe, on our top 100 list. I'm a huge fan of his, and his card, I believe, is going for around 150 raw. Bowman Chrome Auto. He climbed up big time for us because the athleticism in the box is crazy. The bat to ball is crazy. Developing power, and the speed is super underrated. I think he's sticking in center. I'm hunting Hassel now more, but yeah. I'm buying his cards, but I also like to have some fun with it. So I've been going on Loupe and browsing through 2020 draft, looking for whoever has, or browsing through sellers to find 2020 draft.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say Hassel's pretty pricey. He's in that 170, 180, 190 range for his first auto. And those are just very recent, as in yesterday prices. So
we're going to see him ignite. I'm telling you, we're going to see him ignite. But that's why I kind of like going after the packs a little bit too, because I'm happy to pull his base cards. Like I would be thrilled with the base cards, and don't sleep on those first edition base cards. If you're going on Loupe, what is some of the older product that you're looking at off the top of your head? Because I know we don't know the exact price points because it does change with the older product, but we know 2019 draft is going to be pretty expensive. 2020 draft is going to be pretty expensive. Based on what your latest kind of memory is on what those price points are, like what would you be hunting older product wise on Loupe?
Yeah, probably the 2020 stuff. Again, you're going to come across Pena and Matos, and Miguel Vargas. Like there's just going to be so much beyond just Bichette and those guys too as well. 2020 product is a really solid, and I would be looking for something like a mega box even. There's a Target exclusive mega box that has Volpe and Dominguez, those guys. So I would be interested in something like that.
And that's the crazy thing about the sellers too, is that, some of them have their different connections, and you get, some of them have the pipeline of like the exclusive boxes and stuff like that. So again, like you get familiar with the same sellers, they schedule their times and everything like that when they usually break, and you can see in advance when they're breaking. So like when we're looking at the release radar ahead too, what are you most excited for? Because again, for me, I'm in New York City. I don't really always want to take a subway to go to the card shop and then go buy the product and then take it back on the subway with me and come back. Like sometimes I just want to buy it on my phone and have it shipped to my door. What product are you most excited for when it comes out? Because you don't have to go and check and see if they're sold out at your local card shop. You can just go at your fingertips and they're going to get the product as soon as possible and be doing the live breaks there. Besides Bowman baseball for 2022, because we know that comes out in 2 weeks, and you and I and everybody are excited about that, but especially as a just baseball with that checklist. What are you most excited for to go look for on Loupe when that kind of comes out relatively soon? Topps Chrome is probably for me, but that's still not till July. Is there anything else you're looking forward to?
Honestly, like so with Bowman, you get a slew of different products. And so for me, honestly, the best bang for your buck is a Bowman blaster. You get 70 cards. We've pulled so many autos out of this product. You get chrome cards, you get color, You get it all. And like, typically they're going to be around 35 or $40, which is like, for me, when I'm just cruising through Loupe and looking for something and I
You hunt
want
the
to rip it,
blasters.
I can't go get it. Just grab me a Bowman blaster and rip it for me right there. Cause I know that I have a really good shot
Interesting.
at getting something that's a really decently priced product, but with the potential. I mean, we've pulled $300, $400, $500 autos out of that product. I mean, like, there, I've seen a lot of stuff come out of there.
I pulled my Arias out of 99 auto from a blaster.
Yeah, it's just it is by far the best bang for your buck. And you know that they're just gonna, the major sellers on Loupe are gonna have that stuff just like on demand, and it's gonna be such a fun, just kind of, hey, I want a blaster. I don't
want to spend $500.
I don't want to go get it. I want to open up my app and I want to buy it right there and see somebody open it for me and know that's going to be on my doorstep in a couple of days. So there's just no better bang for your buck in the card world like this every year. Like, this is what I like to see the most. They're great for breaking. We use them all the time, just kind of as a filler to, like, if we have a hobby, we'll put those alongside of them. Because it automatically gives you 70 more cards. And so just by far, I will be on Loupe buying blasters pretty frequently, I would imagine.
What I like about the blasters is sometimes I don't want to shell out 400 or 500 for a whole box, but I also don't want to only open one pack. I still feel like hungry after that. So, I mean, the blaster is a perfect balance. And again, you can find all of that on the app. So it's LOUPE for those who may not know. And you can find that link in the description. I don't know if hyperlinks work on YouTube, but if you could copy and paste it into your URL, that would let them know that we sent you from Just Baseball over here. But T, we're gonna do a lot more as especially as the product comes out. We'll be doing some breaks on here also, some like live fun breaks of the new product once it comes out. I'm looking forward to doing that. But any final thoughts, T, as we get ready for what is a pretty fun release schedule moving forward in the next couple of weeks? And I am excited, by the way, you are writing up some more stuff on every week or so on Just Baseball. So any collectibles information and breakdowns of sets and stuff, we have a lot more written stuff on the collectible side that we're excited about.
Yeah, I am for sure. We're just gearing up for the release of Bowman. We've got 2 cases coming in. We'll be doing a ton of breaks. If you don't follow us on Twitter, wildcards_LLC, go do it. We are actually doing a free break giveaway right now, where we have 5 Bowman Megas, 4 blasters, and 2 hobbies of Topps Pro Debut. We're giving away the entire break. We're 30 spots. Each spot gets a random team. It's free shipping. It's free break. Literally free. All you got to do is retweet it and tag a couple people. Check us out at wildcards_LLC. But just that's all I got for me, and excited about next show. I think what we need to do is the reverse. I think we need to look at the biggest fallers and talk about that from an investment standpoint, because there's one on there, and we don't even need to say his name, but he absolutely plummeted in the rankings. So you'll want to come back for that.
All right. I love the little teaser there. Good stuff, T. So we'll have that for you next week. And you can go check everything out at justbaseball.com and follow us on Twitter at justbbmedia. That'll do it for this episode of Cardboard Consultants. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.